my worst enemy. The flesh that's covering me brings me down to my knees.
Welcome to Sermons in the Park, a ministry exploring biblical truth from the Word of God, focusing on the truths that help us in our daily walk with Christ in every aspect of our lives. Now, here is your Reverend, Jamie McCaskill.
Hello, brothers and sisters. This morning I want to talk about something that many people really don't understand. And since they don't understand it, they never truly understand the gospel. Now listen, they know that Jesus died, right? They know that Jesus rose again. They know words such as grace and salvation. But they don't understand why they need saving. Let me put it this way. If you don't understand the bad news, then the good news won't mean much, right? Let's all be honest here. Nobody likes bad news. Nobody wants to hear things like, the truck needs some repairs, the doctor has found something, that bill is overdue. Right? Nobody wants to hear that. They all want the good news. But you see, good news only matters when you understand what the problem is. Think about it honestly. If a doctor walked in and said to you, I have a cure. A cure for what? If you don't know that you're sick, the cure doesn't seem important, does it? When most people hear the Ten Commandments, they think, oh, God gave them so that we could earn our way into heaven. I actually had somebody at the start of my ministry ask me, what's the point in the Ten Commandments if you can just be saved? Romans chapter 3, verse 20 says this, by the law is knowledge of sin. That tells us that the law reveals something. It shows us who we really are. The law is a mirror. A mirror doesn't clean your face, does it? The mirror shows you that your face is dirty. If I walk outside and I get grease all over my face, do I walk in the bathroom and look in a mirror so that it cleans me? No. The mirror only shows you what the problem is. That is what the law of God does. God says to you, you shall not bear false witness. That makes you think, right? Have I told a lie? Of course you have. So have I, right? God tells us, you shall not steal. Ask yourself, have you ever taken something, I don't care how small it was. God says to you, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. You should ask yourself, have I ever used the name of God carelessly? God says, you shall not commit adultery. Jesus takes that one a step further. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 28, we read, whoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in your heart. That all of a sudden things start to get uncomfortable, don't they? Because the law is not pointing at somebody else. No, the law is pointing at each and every one of us. Let me tell you a story. I've worked with a lot of different machines throughout my life. Every now and then, somebody would swear that that machine is running properly, it's running perfectly. And then you bring out the tools to check that piece of equipment, and suddenly this isn't straight, when before you thought it was. It looked right before, but now that we have the tool to look, it's not right anymore. That tool exposed the truth. And that is what the law does. It measures us not against each other, but against God's perfection. And we all realize each and every one of us has come up short. Here's the mistake that too many people make. They notice, I'm a sinner. Well, you know what? I'll just try harder. They think, I'll do better. I'll turn over a new leaf. I'll clean up my life. But the law was not designed to save you. Galatians chapter 3, verse 24, we read, the law was our tutor to bring us to Christ. That means that the law was pointing you somewhere. The law was pointing you to Jesus. Imagine yourself standing before a judge. You're guilty. All of this evidence, it's just overwhelming. And you look up at the judge and go, Judge, I know I did it, but I've done so many good things. Does that erase your crime? No. If that judge is a good judge, he's not going to ignore the fact you're guilty. And God is more than a good judge. God is a righteous judge. The law shows us we're guilty, and that is the bad news. You see, many people reject Jesus because they don't think they need his help, because they've never understood the standard that God has put on us. They go, I'm not a murderer. I'm not a criminal. Oh, I'm a good person. They're comparing themselves to people like that, right? And to all sights, they're not a bad person. But God doesn't compare us to that criminal. God doesn't compare you to someone like Charles Manson. God compares you to himself, to his holiness. And that means each and every one of us are sinners. In Romans chapter 3, verse 23, we read, for all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Not some, all. But don't worry. All this bad news, there is good news. You see, the law, those 10 commandments, tells us we're guilty. But the gospel reveals to us that God has made a way. Romans chapter 5, verse 8 says, but God demonstrates his own love towards us, that while we were what? While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Not after we cleaned ourselves up, not after we became good enough, no. While we were sinners. Here's what makes Jesus different. Jesus never sinned, not one time. He kept the law perfectly. Every commandment, every requirement, every standard. And then what did he do? He went to the cross. Not because he deserved punishment, because we did. We deserved it. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21, we read, "For he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God himself." And that is the gospel. Our guilt, his righteousness. Our sin, his perfection. Our punishment, his sacrifice. The law says that you are guilty. The gospel says Jesus paid the debt. The law says you deserve judgment. The gospel says Christ took your place. The law wounds you. The gospel heals you. The law exposes guilt. The gospel saves you. Tonight, the question is not, am I better than somebody else? The question is, what will I do with Jesus? Because the law has already spoken. It has already declared each and every one of us guilty before a holy God. The only question remaining is, will you trust the one who paid your fine? If you have been trying to earn salvation, stop it. If you've been trusting in your own goodness, stop it. If you've been hoping that your good works are going to outweigh your bad, stop it. Because the law cannot save you. The only one who can is Jesus. And that is why the bad news of the law makes the good news of Christ the greatest news that the world has ever heard. Thank you for joining me today on Sermons in the Park. I pray that this message has spoken to your heart. If you've been carrying burdens you were never meant to carry, surrender them to Jesus today. Lay them at the foot of the cross. May God bless you. I'll see you next time. I love you.
You have been listening to Sermons in the Park with Reverend Jamie McCaskill. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. And as always, thank you for listening.
There's joy for the morning, sinner be still. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow, heaven can't heal. So let